I was looking forward to getting in there playing against the competition and such, Illawarra, Supersonics and all, and yeah, it's a little disappointing.
Where are you at with your naturalisation papers?
Well, really, I thought I was coming along pretty well, and really I expected very soon. I didn't expect any problem. So at this point in time, I really don't know, but it was kind of surprising to me as well to read that I was a little further down the line than I thought I was.
I mean, it was the most promising start. Considering the injuries we had through the week, I had to put two youngsters in who were playing the first game in the National League, and probably against the team that's been the best side in Australia in the last few years.
Well, they've dominated, haven't they, the city?
Oh, yeah, and they did exceptionally well, the two youngsters, as the team did. There was a tremendous performance.
Croatia come up here with a big reputation too, of course.
Yeah, well, they finished second in the league last year. I think they was just pipped by Sydney City. Obviously, every game in this league's hard, and we're just hoping we can carry on the good work from last week.
You've got the added pressure too of realising 1987's going to be another story, and you've got to perform well to stand a chance to stay on your feet.
We certainly have, yeah. I mean, how they've worked it out, it's I think a mathematician would have to work that one out. But all we can do is go out every week, hope we get the desired result, and at the end of the season, keep our fingers crossed, see what happens.
Over 80 crews from around Australia and overseas will be taking part in the event, which the Mall crew was invited to contest after winning the Newcastle Harbour Regatta Dragon Boat race in February. The session, led off by the Kahima Bowling Club brass band, was made up of the Adamstown Midget Party Girls team, recently placed third in the Australian Championships in Tasmania. Folk dancers from the Greek and Scottish communities, and the Lake Macquarie Police and Citizens Youth Club Pipe Band. The Newcastle High School drama class portrayed in play form the origins of the Dragon Boat, believed to date back to 318 AD. The Mall crew is made up of employees from businesses in the Hunter Street Mall and sponsored by local firms.
Chu Yuan, who was a Privy Councillor, who was highly...
St Patrick's Presbytery has changed since the time of Father Constance Fontaine, the first parish priest in Singleton when the building was erected in 1876. Over the years, the premises have been subjected to more than 20 floods, the result causing a severe structural problem with rising damp. However, the building has just been refurbished to the total of $80,000, and today it was officially opened and blessed by Bishop Clark. Resident parish priest Monsignor Sims says that the 110-year-old home for Catholic priests is an historical part of Singleton's past.
Yes, it was started as a presbytery for two diocesan priests who were here in that period. But shortly after that time, the Redemptorist Fathers were brought by the bishop to Australia, and they set up their first house here, and they had to extend it. So half of the house was added by the Redemptorist Fathers in 1882, because they were a religious congregation and they had up to 10 to 12 men living here at the time, so the house was very large for a presbytery. But having been built, we had that obligation to try to preserve it because of its historical value. So even though it's probably too large now for the three priests living here, it's part of our history here in Singleton, and even though it's been flooded and even though it's been damaged, it's still part of the place, because 110 years in a parish life is a very long time.
To be officially classed as a veteran car, a vehicle must have been built before the First World War, and any car that lasts that long is something special. Yesterday, Sydney members of the Veteran Car Club of Australia took advantage of the fine motoring weather as they passed through the Newcastle area on a club rally. Many thousands of dollars have gone into the restoration of these vehicles, but their owners say that each car is priceless. Take, for example, this 1906 French Delahaye model, or a 1908 blue Delage, also from France, and this prized model from one of the first car makers, Dion. And for the solo motorist, this 1915 standard reading motorcycle. One of the rarest of collector's items is this Raceabout Cage, built in 1912, being the only one of its kind on the roads. There are fewer and fewer veteran cars on the road each year, but these enthusiasts are doing their best to ensure that the survivors keep running to enjoy the occasional Sunday afternoon drive.
We recognise that the majority of people self-medicate anyway, and the involvement of the government with this program will ensure that the program has authenticity, and will also ensure that the material that's put forward has relevance. And,
over 600 pharmacies throughout the state are supporting the $500,000 program, which has been put together by the Pharmaceutical Society with the help of private enterprise sponsorship and a state government grant. Each of those pharmacies will display a stand containing 48 fact cards, each dealing with a separate illness, condition or health-related topic. The program includes special training of the chemist to be able to provide the services needed. Vice President of the Pharmacy Guild, Vic Carroll, says the program will carry on from the current role of a chemist and will definitely not encroach on the work of a doctor. Mr Carroll also said that the leaflets will be extremely helpful and an obvious way of convincing people to go to their doctor if it's needed. But despite both government and pharmaceutical support, at least one local health area is not happy. Dr Ian Walker, President of the Hunter Medical Association, says the program will not change a thing and doesn't tackle basic health system problems. Dr Walker says Mr Unsworth is only providing a smokescreen for what is wrong in the public hospital system. A system where, he says, morale and levels of service are worse than they've ever been, and the money would have been better spent in those areas. But the Minister doesn't agree. He says the program will be invaluable, as it will relieve some of the pressure now placed on the public health system.
The whole community will benefit quite substantially, because we'll reduce costs to the community of providing health care.
About $500
For Cole Chaston, who is Secretary of the voluntary Newcastle Velodrome Trust, the constant vandalism is heartbreaking and annoying. Every time he comes to check the velodrome, Cole says he finds more damage. Half the seating around the track has been torn off. Buildings on the site have been broken into using any method available, and wiring has been ripped out of fuse boxes, rendering lighting and speaker systems useless. Fences put up to protect the amenity have been broken into. This particular section was put up just 2 months ago at a cost of $500. The next day, the vandals cut through it.
No, it just seems to be vandalism. The ironical part of it is, Janelle, that we have the Warramai Centre boys come here cleaning the place up and looking after it. They do a fantastic job. Yet outside we've got the vandals coming in spoiling all their good work.
What can you do to prevent this kind of vandalism?
Well, we've tried everything. We've tried policing the place, and the officers from the Adamstown Police Branch are doing a fantastic job, but it's just the time of catching people. They just seem to come here and have their parties and just glorify and smashing the place to pieces.
Hello, I'm Mark Warren. This is the old crossing of the Hunter River at Aberdeen, but today a new bridge was opened to traffic for the first time. Eventually both bridges will be opened, significantly increasing the safety on this section of the highway.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Lingard Hospital has begun a swimming program for autistic children. Officials say that they don't only learn survival skills, but the program has wide-sweeping benefits.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
If the mood at today's meetings is any indication, the miners are preparing themselves for a lengthy battle with the coal mine owners, a battle waged since last September. The coal miners wanted increased productivity claims, but the Coal Association says that would contravene the prices and incomes accord and wage-fixing policies. The first recommendation put to the meetings today was by the National Liaison Committee. It was to reject the Coal Association peace plan worked out last week. The Curry meeting accepted that by 3,376 votes to none. At Singleton, the recommendation was also accepted, 750 to 33. The Northern Branch of the Miners' Federation then put forward an unexpected proposal for a 7-day stoppage beginning at midnight tonight to put added pressure on the Coal Association. That was overwhelmingly carried at both the Curry and Singleton meetings.
All those in favour of the 7-day stoppage? Those against?
President of the National Liaison Committee of the Combined Mining Unions, John Maitland, says the dispute is now back to square one, and it's up to the Coal Association to amend their proposal.
Both the federal government and the ACTU identified our priority claims as being within the prices and incomes accord and also within the wage fixing principles in this industry and capable of resolution through negotiation. So I'd say that quite clearly once again to anyone who says that we're attempting to demonstrate to destroy the industry, that they should have a very hard look at the type of line that the Coal Association has taken at the present time.
Aggregate meetings of 25,000 coal miners in 3 states of Australia will be held from now until April 17, and from the results of today's meetings at Curry and Singleton, further industrial action is imminent for the beleaguered coal mining industry.
There was a special treat awaiting those posting their letters at the junction. To mark the arrival of Halley's Comet, Australia Post has issued a stamp to add to collections. It features the Parkes radio telescope with a diagram of the comet's path over the Earth. Accompanying the stamp is this commemorative envelope. In the next few weeks, when Halley completes its return visit, the comet will begin to cool down. Its spectacular tail will then disappear as it travels to the furthermost distance from the Sun, only to return back to our solar system in the year 2061. And for all those avid astronomers who don't want to miss out on a look at the historical comet, don't forget the best time is this Friday night, April the 11th, when Halley's will make its closest approach to the Earth high in the southeast sky.
Rick Duncan's win in the Stanley Park freestyle competition makes him possibly the most spectacular and radical hang glider in the country. Back home in Newcastle today, he was showing off his form in a healthy southerly off the cliffs at Merewether. He's been hang gliding for 13 years and has twice been the Australian cross-country distance champion. But the tournament at Stanley Park was a different kettle of fish to the events that he'd made his name in before.
Well, it was more like a surfing competition. There's a line of judges, there's 4 judges on top of the hill, and they judge you for difficulty of manoeuvre, accuracy, style, and then you must come in and land on top of a very small target, and the further away from the target the less points you get, so the accuracy comes in is very important there.
So it's more the type of things you do in the air rather than distance as it was in the past?
That's right. Well, this won't necessarily take over the other side of competition, but it's a much more spectacular, like for the spectator point of view, they can sit on top of the hill and watch you doing manoeuvres like normally we do on the coast here.
On any other day, this prize catch of mullet, 1,000 kilograms in all, would fetch at least $500 at the markets. Today, that price dropped to below $200. And for local fishermen like Neville Wilbrow, that means a 100% loss of produce, as he was forced to give it all away. It's the fish travelling season which results in heavy catches in fish like mullet, blackfish and bream. The demand has not kept up with the increase of fish in waters, and the low prices have resulted, affecting more than 20 local fishermen. In fact, today mullet was selling for 20 cents a kilo, a drop of 60 cents last week. With travelling costs including cartage and icebox charges, Neville Wilbrow would have sold his catch at a $2.50 loss per crate. Because of legislation preventing roadside sales and illegal dumping of fish, Neville shared his catch to those passing by. He says that the situation will stay the same for a while.
Well, we're going to have this for the next 2 or 3 months with bream, blackfish and mullet.
So where does that leave you?
Well, I've got to stop the way I catch mullet with a mesh net. I've got to stop catching them because it's not profitable enough.
The immediate future for fishermen like Neville Wilbrow doesn't look too good, at least not until the travelling season is over. The demand just isn't there for the surplus of fish, which has resulted in rock-bottom prices. But at least today was lucky for some, those who were down at Swansea Channel getting free fish.
Richard Cusick is one of those people that makes you feel none of the problems in your own life are really that bad. On June the 8th last year, he was the victim of a rugby union accident at Bullaroo. The result, he was made a quadriplegic and would spend the next 9 months in the spinal unit of Sydney's Prince Henry Hospital. In March, he was released from hospital. He's living at Seaham with his wife, Gidge, whom he says is pretty amazing. And he's now back in his job as a senior industrial officer at Australian Wire Industries.
Without a doubt, to be back with your family and friends and your workmates is unbelievable. I must admit at the start I didn't think it'd ever happen, but now that it's happened, I'm most grateful and most relieved.
Richard is not bitter about the accident. He says that scrums and rucks in rugby union should not be cut out of the game, but says there is
jumping
room
into
for
swimming
improvement.
pools. Football was a love of mine from an early age, and I don't think I could ever hate the game for that. In fact, it's given me some of my most memorable moments and most enjoyable times.
At the Consumer Affairs Bureau in Newcastle yesterday, the Trade Practices Commission representatives outlined their role. The two-man team is on a tour of New South Wales, following up specific complaints and offering advice to consumers and traders. Starting today, they want to hear from people in the Newcastle area.
From the trader, if he had pressure put on him to sell at a particular price, or if he wanted to buy good A and his supplier says you must take good B as well, that type of thing. Things that he thinks are a restrictive trade practice. In other words, he can't trade freely or make up his own mind as to what he wants to sell or at what price he wants to sell.
And from the point of view of the customer?
If he's been the subject of what he considers to be misleading or deceptive conduct, or if he's had problems claiming on the warranties on any goods or services he may have purchased, then we'd be interested in hearing from him.
How much clout does the Trade
Mr.
Practices
Dolan
Commission
and his
have?
colleague can be reached at the Australian Trade Commission, 400 Hunter Street, or by telephoning 263922.
And we want to hear from
The fire broke out at NG's store in Cardiff Road, Wallsend, shortly after 1 o'clock this morning. The shop's owner tried to extinguish the blaze, but after his attempts failed, he fled the blaze with his wife and 4 children. All escaped injury. By the time firemen arrived from Wallsend and Cardiff stations, the shop and adjoining residents at the rear were well alight. Efforts to save the building and its contents were in vain, as the shop, the residents and the delivery van were all destroyed. This morning, scientific police began the task of trying to establish the cause of the blaze. They say it could take several days, and at this stage they're still investigating the possibility of suspicious circumstances.
Lorry packings.